The brain is perhaps the most important organ in our body. We all know perfectly well that we need to monitor the health of our liver, our kidneys, stomach, heart, blood vessels, skin, and so on. But do we often think about the health of our brain? That's not from the point of view of psychology, but from the point of view of biology, perhaps not so often, but in vain. Studies show that some foods can literally make us dumber, while some other foods are very, very useful for our brain. So how can we still preserve our brain, keep our mind clear, and help it in general? In the first part of this video, I will tell you about the most harmful products for our brain, and in the second part, I will tell you about the most useful ones. So watch the video to the end, it will be very interesting. So let's go. By the way, friends, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and click on the bell too, do not miss my new products. So, point number 1 is very obvious, but it would simply be impossible not to say about it. If I hadn't told you, you would have written in the comments, and why didn't you say anything? So, this is alcohol, of course. The use of these drinks really has a very negative effect on the condition of not only our liver, but also the nervous system and the brain in particular. Studies show that alcohol really destroys brain cells. Of course, everything very much depends on the volume, how much you have drunk, also on your age. It is known that in adolescence the brain is especially sensitive, and therefore it can be particularly harmed. Previously, there was an opinion that up to 20 grams of pure alcohol is a relatively safe dose, but recent studies show that in general there are no safe doses. Any dose is harmful, and the less alcohol, the better. Let's go further. The next type of products are sweets. They can also include soda, sweet pastries, most confectionery products, in general, let's say sweet. Yes, many of us may have this feeling, but after all, the brain loves glucose, because the brain feeds on glucose. So I'm giving the brain energy. But in fact, no, sweets ruin not only our blood vessels, but also the brain too. And the thing is that sweet, as I have said more than once on my channel, provokes permanent microinflammation in almost all tissues of our body. And this also applies to the brain. By the way, all products that are harmful to blood vessels will also automatically be harmful to the brain too. Because we destroy the vessels, so we destroy the vessels in our brain. Which means that the capillarization and blood supply to the brain deteriorates, and, in general, cognitive, that is, thinking abilities will also fall. Therefore, any products harmful to blood vessels will also be harmful to the brain. But sugar and all sweet things are, of course, a special thing. The next item is trans fats. And here you can include most of the representatives of fast food, because there are a lot of trans fats. This will also include deep-fried dishes, because these are also trans fats. In fact, a lot of semi-finished products, of course margarine. Very often confectionery products contain spenders, and their bakery products also very often contain spenders. This is actually one of the worst enemies of our times. Spenders greatly worsen the state of our cholesterol profile, lead to problems with blood vessels, which, as I have already said, automatically leads to problems with the brain. But our brain also suffers directly from spenders. So even a certain relationship has been traced. An increase in the use of trans fats increases the likelihood of developing Alzheimer's in a person with age. Well, now let's talk about foods that are good for our brain. And here one of the first items will be a walnut. I must say that this nut is perhaps the most useful of all types of nuts. This is an excellent source of omega-3, and the omega-3, omega-6 content there is 1 to 4. That is, the best combination of all nuts. In all other nuts, this combination is worse. It is better only in chia seeds and flax seeds, but these are still seeds, but among nuts the walnut is the champion. There are also a lot of vitamins A, B and E, there is also a lot of lecithin. And this substance is known to have a very good effect on our memory and cognitive abilities in general. Experts recommend eating a small portion of walnuts every day, about 5 nuts, no longer needed. Since food is still quite heavy for the stomach, not every stomach will be comfortable coping with it, but if it copes, it will give us a lot of benefits. Also, when you buy walnuts, you need to look at their condition and shelf life. If we see that the nuts are already a little musty, darkened, wrinkled, then of course they do not need to be taken. You only need to take fresh, pretty and light ones. Let's go further. The next item is a fatty sea fish. And here salmon holds the palm. Again, to a large extent, because there's a lot of omega-3. Omega-3 in general is very useful for the brain, because in general, if we take the brain, it is clear that for the most part it consists of water, but if we take only the dry component, do you know what substance will prevail there? Omega-3. Yes, in fact, our brain is built from omega-3. So there are a lot of omega-3 in salmon. Omega-3 directly affects our thinking process, the state of our memory, motor skills, and so on. Also, regular consumption of omega-3 reduces the likelihood of developing Alzheimer's. By the way, omega-3 can be found not only in salmon, but also in mackerel, tuna, trout, cod liver. Yes, oddly enough, cod meat will have less omega-3 than its liver. But this applies to cod. In the case of salmon, we are of course talking about the salmon meat itself. Ideally, you should eat 2 or 3 servings of fish a week. And the serving size is about 100 grams. Let's go further. The next item is bitter chocolate. This means bitter real chocolate with a high content of cocoa beans, at least 60%, and of course even more is better. Because if we take these pop sweet milk chocolates, then there will be, well, a little benefit there. There will be a minimum of cocoa beans, plus palm oil. As a result, we get sugar with trans fats, nothing good. But if we take real dark bitter chocolate, with a high content of cocoa beans, then this thing is very cool. They contain such a substance as flavonol. It is an antioxidant that is found in cocoa beans. And it activates the cells of our brain very well. There will also be a lot of magnesium in this chocolate, and it is very good for our brain. And in particular for the development of our memory. You don't need to eat a lot of bitter chocolate. The food is quite heavy. Well, of course, there are so many benefits. Of course, it is quite saturated. So 30 grams a day will be quite enough. The next item is lentils. Lentils belong to legumes. They are a very tasty and nutritious source of vegetable protein. It also contains a lot of iron, folic acid, and vitamins of group B, and all these elements in total are a very good resource for the favorable flow of biochemical processes in our brain. And as a result, we will improve our memory and increase the speed of our thinking. In general, there are recommendations from nutritionists to include representatives of legumes daily in our diet. And lentils are one of their best representatives. By the way, friends, and write in the comments, and which of these products do you eat, or which of them you have excluded, share. It will be interesting. And now, I highly recommend you to watch my other video, where I talk about 4 habits that ruin our brain. This information is very cool to complement what I was talking about here. A link to the video you just appeared on the screen, as well as a link I left in the description and fixed it in the top comment. Be sure to look, it's very interesting there. And if you liked this video, then like and subscribe to my channel. And we'll see you on that very video about 4 bad habits for our brain. See you later.